Good evening, everyone. My name is Amy Sass, Artistic Director of Ragged Wing Ensemble and host of Moment to Moment. For those joining for the first time, Moment to Moment is a live talk series exploring what can be learned, felt, and created during this time of great transformation. This program is produced by Ragged Wing Ensemble, a small but mighty theater and arts organization. It was born out of a need to connect, to spark dialogue, and to do what humans have always done since ancient times, share stories. By sharing stories, we evolve humanity. And at this time, our organization is in the midst of a powerful paradigm shift in support of racial justice, and there'll be more details about that coming soon in future programming. To officially begin tonight, I invite you to join me in a simple meditation. The purpose of this meditation is to allow all of us to kind of slow down, to open the space for creativity, depth, and connection. And I find that in this digital sphere, we tend to use these devices so often to speed up and to multitask. But in this room that we're creating together, I'm gonna sort of help set a tone where we get to slow down and take and have more space. And I think of this as a little invocation. I call it the arrival. So I'm gonna light a candle and I'm gonna say some words. And as I do so, just feel free to give yourself some care, whatever you need. We arrive here, now, in this moment. We arrive with awareness, knowing that we are attending from different locations and different time zones. We arrive knowing that no matter where we are, we all sit on Indigenous land. We arrive aware of the need for healing and systemic change. We arrive here, now, into a digital space that some folks have access to and some do not. We arrive with breath, with body, with intention. And I invite you right now to take this moment to feel the surface that supports you, whatever that is. Allow calm to settle into your cells with the breath. And using that breath to just kind of create space, a big space, maybe a vast space even, inside your belly, inside your chest, your throat, your face, if you can kind of just let the skin just kind of really relax and kind of drip off as you breathe. And then some space in your head, your skull, your brain. Just imagining a little tiny light in the center of your mind. And as you breathe, allow that light to kind of expand. And as we engage in this program tonight, and we meet our awesome guest, feel free to give yourself whatever care you need throughout the program. It's kind of what this space is for. So tonight's topic is called Nourish Thyself. And our guest this evening is someone who I greatly admire. This is a person who brings so much love and joy to what they do, so much high spirits. She is someone who has been exploring herself through health, fitness, and creativity, It is my pleasure to introduce DJ, personal health coach, and performer, and creator of events and conversations, Champagne Hughes.
Hi, hey everyone. Snap fingers. I see the snaps. Yeah, spirit fingers. Awesome. Love it. I love how we're able to find ways of showing people appreciation through silence. So I want to just thank you all for being here. And I see every one of you. Keith, I still owe you that mixtape. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten. But yes, and thank you, Amy, for doing such a beautiful meditation and just being able to create space. I'm overwhelmed with the recognition and the joy and just the appreciation that I'm getting from this space, right? So it's awesome, and you guys, you all didn't have to be here, but you chose to, and I appreciate you all for that.
Yeah.
So let's get this show on the road.
Let's get this show on the road. So Champagne, I mean, we can start wherever you like. I mean, there's so many wonderful ways to start, but I feel like, you know, there are so many ways in which you have been exploring self-love, and I want to be able to touch on most of them. But just this notion of like daily self-love and your kind of your sort of rising awareness and then utter devotion to this concept. I was wondering if you could kind of just give us a little bit of context into how you found that, like how that emerged for you.
Oh man, okay. It's funny because I still feel like I'm still discovering what it means to love myself, especially with the knowing that change is the most constant. So with that, it's like, the way that I loved myself, or I thought that I loved myself yesterday, it's completely different from what happened today, or from 3 years ago when I was like on this spiritual journey. And it's like now with the midst of what's happening, it's like, what does self-love look like? And I can tell you that I got here literally within like, I think my full push was like within the last 3 to 4 months, 4 months actually. It's like when we were just on the breach of hearing rumors about us being mandated to our homes. But before then, I was always on a spiritual journey or trying to find myself and discover how do I move in the world? What's my purpose? You met me when I was like really trying to figure out, I'm gonna own a dinner theater in downtown Oakland. And that's when the flight deck opened their doors and said, hey, you wanna practice? Absolutely. And I was with you 3 or 4 years, something like that, to where I was discovering myself then of what is it like to be a leader and a Black woman as a leader within the administrative world of theater. I want to say that I think definitely what pushed me is I think some people was I had a 5-year relationship and we broke up, I think it's 2 years ago now. And I identified with my partner a lot, and to the point where I knew that, like, I didn't know who Champagne was really. Despite that, my partner knew me because that's why he dated me, of course. Somehow along the way, I, especially all my teachings, I was like, oh, I need to be one with this person. I'm going to help him with all his stuff. And then just leaving me behind to where I developed a lot of self-doubt, fears, low self-confidence, low self-esteem, because I just didn't know like really who Champagne was. So when COVID happened, when the mandate happened, my show was canceled. And I was luckily we had a nice run, and I love my artists, and rest in peace to all the shows that were canceled before they can even go up. But I was able to have like a 4-week run, and we extended. But that was also the last show, my entire family was going to show up. My dad, where I didn't, we weren't talking, he was going to surprise me, and he knows I love surprises. My ex's grandparents were going to come. Like everyone was showing up. So when it was 2 hours before our call time, we got an email saying that the show is canceled, the show is done. And I felt like I was mourning a death. Like I went straight on Facebook because I didn't know what the hell to do. I mean, it's still, it still hurts because I've never, no one ever anticipated it. Though it hit me so hard because I'm like, the very thing that brought me joy, the very thing that I was ready to say, you know what? And I'm just gonna go for my MFA, and I'm gonna go and be an actor and go to Broadway. Like Broadway was the first conglomerate to shut down in the state. I was like, oh my God, my life is practically over. Like, so that moment, I like in the same, I'm going on Facebook Live, it has like 1,200 views in like that day because I was just like wailing. I said, you know what, I'm gonna work on my one-woman show. Like, fuck it. If I'm gonna be here, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna work on myself. I'm going to, like, I need to come out of this like jail as a better person. Like I need to be defined. I see you snaps. Yes, I love it. I need to like really define who I am. Like I need to fill my space in. Like, what is it like look to really nest? Cause I'm like not a nester. I'm like, I put shit on the walls, and I'm like, I'm getting my space done, And so I then, another artist by the name of Ryan Austin, she is a great community Oakland activist and artist performer. She was looking for someone to help host a weekly open mic night. And so we started that, and we were running 16 weeks. That's how long we've been in this. So now we're doing on a monthly basis, but we were doing every Wednesday. Next thing you know it, and I guess this is what the self-love looked like. It was taking care of myself. It was becoming the best version of myself that I knew I could be. And then that's when I started juicing. That same time I started juicing. And I actually have a beautiful, lovely watermelon juice that I'm just like so ready to like, well, I can't say sink my teeth in, but sink my palate.
Tongue,
and that's nasty. That's kind of kinky. But I wasn't going there. So whatever. Yeah. Anyway, that's one way to nourish yourself, I guess. So
I knew we'd go some interesting places. I
knew X was coming up somehow, somewhere. We just couldn't resist. So, oh look, there's my other mom, Anna. She's coming up.
Champagne, can you tell us about the juicing? Like when you say juicing, can you give us a picture? Because some people think, oh, I just like throw some things in a juicer and it comes out and I drink it.
It's funny, actually one of my clients is on, she's up right now. Hey, Lindsay, thanks so much for coming. So part of loving myself was also saying like, I no longer want to be in the body that I'm in. I need to make a change, and I've been yo-yoing for the past 6 or 7 years. It's taken me this long. I went from Weight Watchers to I didn't do Atkins, but I did something that had illegal substances, is not even used anymore, to keto, to vegetarian, to vegan, to back to meat, and just everything just didn't seem to work. So about like 4 years ago, when I was in my relationship, I was looking at smoothie cleanses and juice fasts and looking at all these documentaries, Cowspiracy, Joe Cross's Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, and so many others, right? But little did I know, despite you just making a juice, it really isn't that easy. Like they'll say, just make a juice, right? And I got a juicer. I invested $400 juicer, Omega. You know, got my fruits and vegetables, got the apps, all the recipes, and I attempted a 2-week juice fast last year with my goal to going to 30 days, and I didn't make it. At the second week, I gave in. Gained all the weight back, all my depression, anxiety. I just felt like, you know what, I'll never accomplish this. Because what they don't tell you is that each day is a meditative practice. Each day you are telling yourself to fight your own addictions, and addictions that you never thought that you had. Each day you are saying no to yourself, to your family, to your culture. I've been told, you know how many times I've been told that I'm not Black because I'm juicing? How many times that people are just like, because, and I say that to say that it is not a norm for a lot of this is not the normal. Our normal is the SAD diet. Does everybody know what SAD diet is? SAD? No. The standard American diet. We're sad. We're some sad people. And they want me to stay sad. But I say that in our standard, thank you, Josh, you're so amazing. In our standard American diet, we have a lot of starches, we have a lot of sugars, we have a lot of high amounts of protein, more than we need. But again, I digress. But really, the biggest thing was meditating every day, telling myself to keep going, because you only got one thing to do, and that's to drink juice. So I started 17 weeks ago, actually, before the mandate, and now I'm at day 110.
Wow. And is this just juice?
This is just juice,
so
yeah.
No other things.
I know, Deborah, I love your facial expressions, love. She's like, oh, no, you will not see me do that. And I totally get it. This is not, it's not a practice in which it's celebrated. It's also a practice for me. Like my highest weight was 210 pounds. And my highest, it's been over 200 pounds since I was 12. And also when I was 12, that's when the Big Mac first came out. And let me tell you, the Big Mac used to be big. It's not what it is anymore. This was like, go back in the archives and look at that Big Mac. Like you will see, and that was my happy meal, right? But that's what I grew up on, was the gluttony of food and the riches of it and the connections that we brought. So I'm literally saying no to like everything that I knew. But I was saying yes to the things that was going to help me feel like I'm walking like a goddess on this plane. Like I needed to feel like that. That's what I feel like I deserve. And the only way to be able to get that was through what? Godly foods. Foods that are not touched, not tampered, not processed, not, sure, we can say they're cloned. Okay, whatever. But they're in their most normal state as possible. And that's what loving myself meant. It was blessing myself with the gift of juices that are here to be able, in 3 months, I was able to get to a place that I didn't realize existed for me.
What is that? And Champagne, can you tell us like what that place that you're describing, what does that place consist of for you? The place that you didn't think you'd be able to get to, like I'm just wondering, sort of spiritually, psychologically, you talked about being
I'm restraining myself from crying my ass off right now because it's so great It's so great. Lindsay saw all the videos where I'm crying. Like I make videos on YouTube page. I'm just like, I'm so emotional because I feel so good. I'm like, but that's what it is. It's like this high that it's a high. And it may not be the sugar high, right, where you collapse right after, but it's this high that is so constant that you wake up and all you want to do, and that's all you want to do. Don't get me wrong, I make my mistakes. I do. I'm human. I might have like a spoonful of avocado, a handful of nuts here and there. Like, I'm not gonna lie. And on the high side of things, you're like, she's tripping over a fucking spoonful of avocado. Like, but the thing about it is, it's that when you feel, the thing about it is, I'm tripping because chewing for me right now, and I think I've like almost developed a fear, right? Chewing for me reminds me of what I was before this. And I don't want to go back. And it's not like I'm going to stay like this forever. I definitely am going to transition to be a raw vegan. So all uncooked meals, nothing that's, you know, cooked over 118 degrees. Everything's dehydrated. Because I just know what I feel like, and it's freedom. It's freedom. It's joy. It's like feeling like a badass. Like, to do this for 100 days is like, oh shit, what else can I accomplish within? Like, I feel inspired by myself to do something with this much tenacity. And this has been such a return of a personal investment for me that I never thought I would actually be recognized in such a rapid way beyond like as a DJ. I've been DJing for 15 years. This literally happened in like 2.5 months. I've been acting my entire life. This has been happening, you know, but also I do want to say, because we are closed in this space, we're trying to find ways to heal, period. So the ways that we know how to heal is through food, is through that. So I probably answered your question in a really long way, but
no, that's great. That's awesome. That's great. And I
thanks, Jake.
I want to, well, first of all, thank you for your tears. You know, I'm a big fan of tears. I think that tears are really important. I think that it's important to, like, you know, allow them to flow, because that's where the good stuff is. And also just wanted to kind of, you know, thank you for sharing that journey too. I also know you have been, Champagne, you've been working out so much. I'm always like looking online and like, you were like seriously working out. I'm like, Champagne is like going for it. And I feel like, so
no, that haven't worked out. And like, I mean, I run, but
well, run. Okay.
I guess my working out is like, yes, I do CrossFit, and I would actually really love to see what CrossFit would look like with how I am today. But my energy is flipping ridiculous. At least now. And I would tell you, for anyone who may want to pass this information to anyone else, is that the first 2 weeks of juicing are the most challenging. Your energy will fluctuate. It'll go up and down. You'll feel exhausted one day, super ready to go to the gym the next day. You'll feel depressed one day and super horny the next. And sorry, yeah, it was coming back.
It's good. It's so good.
It's always right. It's always going to spiral back.
I don't actually think we've ever talked about sex on this show, so it kind of just brings up another topic that we.
Well, okay. So I'm not gonna lie. Wait, I feel like, let me answer your other question first. Working out. So yeah, there is. From what I learned, I rather work out with a body that has the least amount of toxins than the body that is using toxins to create muscle. And I'm just like, great, now that I feel free of like, you know, internal ailments, mental, I'm still working on that, but just other physical, like cellulite, all that stuff, right? It's like, oh, how much power then are my muscles going to really produce when it's not having toxins introduced? Because it has to tear, right? Muscles, in order for them to build, they have to tear. But what are they using to heal those tears, right? And that's where I'm like, I need some pure blood to heal those and get them stronger. And speaking of stronger, okay, so yes, juicing helps with libido. Let me tell you that. And I'm gonna go, yeah, I know. Like,
do it.
Everyone sitting closer, come closer.
Let us hear.
So, and I'm gonna tell you something that's super cool and super interesting, right? And this is my own personal story. So there's this thing called iridology. Does anybody know what iridology is? No. Oh my God, Josh, put it in the chat. Iridology. So it's looking at your irises, right? And your irises is almost like the imprints of like a tree, or like a thumbprint, right? You can see all the ailments and everything, the degenerated cells that are circulating in certain parts of your body. And it's amazing. Like, and you look, well, I'm like, Jake and Jessica, you guys can look at each other's eyes, but if you like look at everyone else's, like, they're all different. Everybody's eyes are different. And even if you put a light, you got to get closer, you got to get a light and stuff, but you'll see, just play with it. But you get your eye and you can check to see, like, certain areas of your eye represent certain organs, certain body parts, even your mind. So it is an alternative medicine technique. Absolutely, and I use it. Because a part of me, I swear to you, I was like, I feel like I should be hornier. I feel like I should be sexier. I feel like why am I not feeling this way? Like, why am I not, you know, looking at somebody's ass and like, I would jump that. Like, I feel like something's wrong with me. So I looked, and there's like the top part of your eye. I did go to a professional, and if anybody's interested, I do have a contact. She lives in New York. My girlfriend, Hannah. So Hannah did my test. I sent her pictures of my eyes. I had to have my mom and sister help me to get really close. And so when I sent it to her, she said there's the top part, which represents, you know, my mind. My sex impulse was degenerated, meaning that, you know, that my cells weren't strong in that area. And I was like, I knew it, something wasn't, I knew it. So I was like, oh yeah, now it's like actually a real thing. So, and then my hypothalamus, which is like the energy in my body, was also degenerated. And of course, a part of me was just like, great, well, my whole body is fucked up. I'll never heal. And like, that's not true. When you start cutting back on the things that are hurting you, like my eyes just pretty much told me, like, this is, you know, look what you're doing to yourself. This is why you are what you eat. This is why you are. So, and the crazy thing about it is your eyes will always adapt to how your body is on an everyday level. So if your eyes, you look at your eyes how they are now, they will definitely change. And I'm like, that's amazing. So I can actually see when I'm healing myself. And I'm like, I think that's fucking awesome. And nobody talks about these things. It's like, where does this information? And I'm just so lucky to have like come across it, but it's been so helpful for me. Like, I'm taking natural herbs, like actual natural herbs, to the point like they are going out to the fields and crushing them and putting them into capsules. Like, none of it is manufactured. I literally have like an apothecary in my kitchen right now of just all the herbs and tinctures that are enhancing, right? We don't need them. We actually don't. We can very much rely on just the fruits and vegetables at their rawest form. But if you want the enhancement, yes, it's having natural herbs to do that. So if you're having sex issues, especially people who are like, they feel like they can't get up, men and women, juicing helps. But it's not just with that, it's literally the wholeness of your body that can heal, right? So yeah, that was it. Sex. That's as far as I'll go.
That's good. That's great. Thanks, Champagne. And I guess my one quick question before I want to take us in another direction, which is like, how long did it take before you actually started to feel the difference? From the moment that you noticed that you kind of got this information about the eyes and like were able to identify these certain things, and then began to take some herbs and you were juicing, like how long do you think sort of for you did you start to feel like, oh, this is really changing now?
Well, for my very first one, great question. My very first one was within within less than a week, honestly. But it was also me juicing, like being really strict, like just having juices, no grazing, no none of that. And I felt the difference in my body, like within like 3 to 5 days. But as far as being stable and really feeling empowered and in myself was around like just about hitting the 3rd week mark.
Okay.
Like I highly recommend that people go beyond the 2 weeks because of just learning learning about your relationship with food and learning about yourself. I feel like is really important, and you're not going to discover that until after 2 weeks. I do congratulate people though that are going for 3 days, 5 days, 1 day, whatever it is. But because we are on this SAD program, that I only get concerned that your transition out is not really gonna make the juice thing work. Honestly, you're just doing it just to say, like, I drank juice. But really, I immediately felt free. I felt, especially giving my intestines a break. It was like, and I didn't have gas. Oh my God. Let me tell you, I hated sleeping with myself sometimes. And I was just like, fuck, like you have one more fart like that. You got to go. Like I got to
I love it. I love it.
So I felt so many things just immediately. My mood was better, but of course, like I'm saying, there was a lot of ups and downs where I was frustrated for no reason but like body wise, it was like, okay, this is what it feels like to get into it. I had a very deep emotional detox my 2nd month. And that's another thing. If I don't know if I remember mentioning it before, but you will have a physical and an emotional detox. Some people, most of us will have it at the same time because it's like, I don't know what to do. I'm not chewing. And oh my God, well, my husband's having this. And wait, my grandma's invited. Oh, Aunt Pat made that pecan pie. It's 4th of July. So like, it's like, you're going to freak out and go through stuff. Physically, because your body is going to remind you of all the things that you've done to it or other people have done to it. So you may have chest pains, headaches, that knee surgery that you had might come back. Your body is essentially saying, thank you. It's just going to be painful. Talk about kinky. It's going to be painful, but it's going to be worth it. You're going to enjoy it. But the 2nd month was really, really hard for me, but it was worth it. And now this next 100 days is it is continuing the self-love and what that practice looks like. It's like, now that I got here, it's like, look, I can do whatever I want. But that's not really the case. It comes down to like maintenance. This is my transition out, and I'm ending on my birthday. So that's done. Thank you. Yeah, September 18th. I'm like, I'm ready to eat. I'm ready to put my face flat into a bowl of salad and just motorboat it. Motorboat my salad. Oh, that's nasty. All the way.
Love it. Can we have another round of this show in a couple of months that's just called Motorboat Your Salad? Maybe in September, once you actually have.
Yeah, well, I might end up having 2 kids on the way by then, so absolutely.
All right. All right.
Like, that would be, look what juicing did.
So Champagne, so all of this has been going on, this juicing has been going on, this physical detox, this emotional detox, the sense of, in some ways, experiencing kind of freedom on a new level, you know, internally. And you've also begun this like work on this one-woman show. Yeah. And I'd love for you to talk about it a bit, and then, you know, we'll go for a little bit on that, and then, you know, we'll open everything up to everyone so that they can ask questions and give comments and stuff.
Yeah. So going back to the place where it all started, that day when my show was canceled, also did spark not just the juicing journey, the health journey, but also my journey as an actor. It was like, what was that going to look like? What was that going to be? And I just said, fuck it. You know what? I'll just work on my one-woman show then. If that's the case, that'll happen. And I had an idea. I've worked with a coach for like 6 months prior, and I had the perfect story. But then with COVID happening and being sheltered in place, it just didn't seem to fit anymore. And trying to tie it back was just felt forced. I feel like this was a show that was like, if, you know, 2-3 years from now, let it be a triggered show that causes us to look back. But right now, like, what can I do to make it really impactful? So I started doing research, and I was like, and I was eager. I was like, well, I'm not really interested in writing. I want to just like get the authentic stories. I want to like, you know, connect with other people. How can I like just get scripts and just like perform and just be, but while also telling the times. And I was like, oh, there's verbatim theater. Absolutely. Anna Devere Smith really coined it in the United States, though it's all over the place in UK. There's also word for word here. And then like, I don't know, it was Campo Santos or like some other people like do it. But it's not done often. It's not done often enough. So
can you explain what it is for folks who don't know the theater language? Yeah.
So verbatim theater is when you are taking an interview or taking whatever it is directly from a person. So say we were to manuscribe this whole show, right? Someone or some people would essentially say our words verbatim, use the same hand gestures, use the same whichever, right? And then perform that on stage. So what I decided to do was I made a goal to interview 100 people during this time. This was in March, I believe. And I said, I'm just going to play these individuals. So gosh, at one point I had like 4 or 5 interviews in one day. And I just ask them, you know, I don't ask them much. I just say, tell me about yourself, what's happening in your life. And then I may ask some clarifying questions because I'm like, oh, I don't have that in the show. So let me get that story. And I'm at 40 so far. This show too is designed to not just have one voice. It's supposed to be all voices, and it will be. People who are queer to Republicans to Black to white to, I mean, all different types of cultures, financial backgrounds. Like I'm gonna make time to go out and speak to those who are not as privileged, because I feel like anybody who has Zoom is privileged. So I'm going to go to the people who don't have Zoom and get their stories. And because I feel like that's important. I feel like their stories need to be heard. Everybody's stories need to be heard. And this month in particular, I've been interviewing a lot more Black queer men for many, many reasons. That it's like, how do you be a Black man who is part of the LGBT community on top of being sheltered in place because of COVID? Like, how do we express ourselves? Especially then I have one who's an artist. I'm like, oh God, doesn't make it even worse. So I feel like that needs to be told. And then probably telling my own story, but it felt more comfortable for me to do that because I just love being able to embody this and hold space for it. And I feel like I discovered that, you know, while I was at the flight deck. It was just like being able to hold space for people and give them room, give their voices room to be heard and to be seen. And I have some amazing, amazing stories that I just like cannot wait to perform. And yeah, so though it's a question of how is it going to be performed now is the big question. And I have many thoughts. And mind you, I feel like this is also going to be my MFA program because I was going to go and that's not happening. But because of this, and this is what's so thrilling. So all the while I'm doing this, I also created 3 nonprofits. So that's why, yeah, thank you guys.
All that energy from juicing champagne.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it came. And I needed to keep my life's purpose going when the world shut it down. When it said, no, you can't be yourself anymore. And when it said, no, I don't think about, no, DJing, music, all this, everything, artistry, especially the arts. It's like I needed to do something that was going to keep me alive. Literally, I'm not fucking kidding you. Like theater kept me alive and I needed to do that. So yeah, I created 3 nonprofits. Lover's Lane, where I'm talking about building healthy relationships between couples and individuals. Othello Arts Foundation, where we are uplifting the authentic voice through music, art, literature, drama, cooking, whichever it is, so that we can build happiness and joy through those mediums. And then what is my last one? Oh my God, I have too many. Oh, Rulistic Healing. Where we are healing the roots in a holistic way, in a holistic manner. So those are all my babies. So yeah, I was saying that to say what? That I'm doing all these things and I did the acting thing. Where was I? Lost my train of thought.
We were talking about the one-woman show and how that you were collecting these stories.
Oh, maybe that was a segue to say like, oh yeah, those are my 3 nonprofits and just tell you what they were. So, okay, done. But so yeah, oh, got it. So doing this show, I realized too, another thing that I discovered, I'm interviewing like 4 or 5 people in one day. And at one point I was just like, fuck, now I know what counselors go through. Like, this is a job. Like, and I think of myself like, well, I wasn't doing anything. I'm just sitting there and like, tell me more. Okay, what's going on? Like, but at the same time, like when you are actively listening, that's an exercise. When you are being present, that's another exercise. When you are giving unconditional love, fuck all of that, I'm exhausted. By the end of the day, I was just freaking exhausted, but I was so fulfilled. And so fulfilled that, you know, the next day I'm hearing from people like, oh my gosh, like it was amazing. Can I talk to you again? Or or they just felt so released and they were just so happy to have someone to listen. I didn't need to do anything. I just needed to show that I was listening and being present, in which I was wholeheartedly. So I talked to a really great colleague, mentor, brother of mine, Robert Clark, who is an Iota Phi Theta fraternity corporate. He was he was the past president. And I told him everything that I was doing. And he was like, okay, Dr. Hughes. I was like, Doctor, wait, okay, hold on. Let's talk here. What are you seeing that I'm not seeing? And I literally gave him like my whole entire life. He was like, just tell me everything you want to do. I was like, great, the titles. Like, I want to be a healer, a dominatrix, teacher, a counselor, like all these things. And he said, great. So what you're going to do is get your MA in drama therapy and counseling and get your PhD in human sexuality. I was like, what? That's my whole life. And then he said, and then start your 3 nonprofits. I was like, fuck, I've been waiting for this moment my whole entire life. But I wouldn't have discovered that if I didn't allow the art to speak to me during this time in which we were in this capsule, and allowing myself to listen to the universe. Like, it was just so perfectly fitting. Like, this whole thing is just perfectly fitting. And so I'm going for it. I'm applied for my master's in drama therapy. I'm waiting for them to come back, and definitely will be going to my PhD. And I'm like, this, and I have to. And I feel like it's necessary, because especially with my goal being that I want to reconstruct my cultural patterns, reconstruct the self-damaging cultural patterns, generational patterns. And I'm like, it's only right to add more Black queer women into the PhD field, period. So it's larger than me. Everything that I'm doing has been larger than me, and it's fucking scary. But it's also rewarding. And it's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
The waterworks. I need my juice.
Awesome. Champagne, I wanna give our viewers and attendees a chance to ask you some questions. Thank you so much. I just learned
spirit fingers for everybody. Thank you for being here. I love you all your time.
So let's open it up for folks to ask questions. You can ask questions via Facebook Live comments, or you can ask questions in the chat, or you can just speak, because I think we're going to be taking everyone off mute. Yeah, Joshua? Yeah.
Yes, anyone can unmute themselves now. If you just click unmute, you can speak and ask a question.
Come questions. No questions. Great. I can go to sleep early. No, just kidding. No, Jake and Jessica, I know y'all have questions. Come on. I saw y'all over there. Don't be hiding.
It's funny because we're always put on blast on this show.
You're like the best. I felt the energy. I felt it. So I had to call it out.
First of all, just, yeah, so Champagne, I actually met you actually in a circle when we were all at the flight deck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Come closer. Let me see your face.
Hi, Champagne.
Oh, hi. Okay. Hi. So nice to see you again.
Nice to see you as well. And just a lot of it resonated, just trauma, going through what you're going through, and yet healing in a way. And yet we're all, like you said, in these little pods, and just exploring all those emotions, right? I mean, I feel very much as a society, it's not very much of the exploration and not wanting to have the conversation, not wanting to go through the really hard conversation, all the knowledge, and even the sexual conversation, right? I mean, we have sex. I mean, it's a way of being.
That's how we got here.
It's how we got here. So just very much of just you sharing that, just thank you, all the love through the screen, and just, hopefully one day get to embrace and hug you, and thank you for everything you're saying. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, virtual hug.
Virtual hug.
Yeah.
Nice to meet get you champagne, even though I haven't met you in person. Like, I feel like you're being authentically yourself, and I just need to say that I really appreciate that. You just seem like a really wonderful and just beautiful person inside and out.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's so much that resonated with me in terms of like, actually prior to this guy, like I was also in a relationship, a 5-year relationship, about 5 years, that, let's just say, like, yeah, I've definitely felt like I was attached to him, and like since then, like I feel like I'm definitely starting to come into my own. So yeah, it's quite a journey. It's quite a journey. I also like resonated too, because like I've also kind of been like flip-flopping around with diets. Like I've been vegetarian, I was vegan, and then, you know, not, and then now like I'm only eating chicken and fish in terms of meat. But yeah, I have always like had a sweet tooth. Do you have any tips or tricks for kicking a sugar addiction?
Oh. Yeah. And thank you both for being beautiful and amazing. And honey, I totally get what you mean about, you know, creating boundaries for yourself and establishing who you are. It is hard, but I'm certain you're experiencing a beautiful journey. Jake, thank you for giving her space to do that and holding her while she's doing that, holding each other. To kick a habit, to kick an addiction. That's really what it is that it's a habit, it's an addiction. I say this to all my lovelies, is that you have to ask yourself why. Why are you choosing to have this right now? What is it that you are not getting in this moment in which you feel that food is going to be the best way to numb that feeling or get rid of it? And that's why I'm saying that this is a meditative practice. The moment that like you go for that like cake, you're like, why? Oh, Jake made me mad. Okay. Or my mom called. Oh. Honey, where's the fucking Oreos? Because mom's on the phone. So you have
right now.
right. So let's use mom because she's the one that's bringing up the sugar addiction. So you need to ask yourself when you are talking to mom, when you are on the phone with her, still try to listen, of course, because moms like us to listen. Ask yourself, Mom, Deborah, I love you. You're amazing. I'm watching her facial expressions. Ask yourself while you're talking to mom, it's like, what is it that I want right now? Okay, why is this happening? Why am I feeling this way? Why do I feel, okay, she's yelling at me. I don't like that. Why do I not like that? I don't like that because it doesn't feel like it's loving. Why doesn't it? Oh, so is it that I want love? Do I want her to hold me? Is that, oh, I think I want love. I want love. I want to be held. I want to hide, or I want to, oh, okay. Like once you start getting to that place where like, you know, where you can name it, Lindsay, when you can name your emotions, then you know what you need to do to combat that, or then you know how to be the observer, because you going for the Oreos is just you having a reaction because your body is trying to immediately find a way to love itself and to be still and to be calm. And sugar can do that for the temporary, but then now 2 Oreo cookies is going to turn into what?
The whole bag.
No, 2 boxes. The 2 Oreo cookies turn into 2 boxes. So then you're like, what? Now you just feel upset and guilty. Now you feel mad at yourself because you were mad at mom because she brought you to eating these damn 2 Oreo boxes. And then over here, now you just like, what do? You start then, some people think about purging, and some people, like all these things where it's just like, if you just allowed yourself to name that emotion, know what to do with that emotion, to be the observer, then the addictions and your anxiousness or your desire to go for something that is actually self-damaging to you, when you know it, it won't be there anymore. If anything, you'll now be able to make rooms to find an alternative. You can be like, okay, I'm gonna go eat a banana.
You're thinking about something sexually right now, huh?
I'm like, fuck, juicing's working. Yes. I'm like, honey, how was your podcast, Mom? I talked about sex the whole time. I'm back. Like, Amy, we can't go to your shows anymore because we weren't ready. We were ready.
Oh,
But
are you kidding me? You're going to expand this audience tremendously. We're going to get like, we were talking about audience expansion right now here.
But honey, I hope that helped. I hope, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. This is not, even though it's simple, right? Just like everything, even though it's simple, it's challenging, because how do you do that on an everyday basis? How do you do that when your body will just naturally grab it? How do you tell yourself to stop? Like, how do you tell yourself to be aware? And that's what I'm saying, like every day, getting to 100 days of awareness, it's like, it's a challenge. It's unheard of. That's why people don't go far. I'm told myself to like combat a whole bunch of addictions in like one day. So if that's what you want to, if you want to have a fast, or you want to feast on a healthier lifestyle, just look at an addiction, whatever you know that is self-damaging for you, and ask yourself why.
Thank you, Champagne. I think Lori had a question that wanted to be voiced. Lori, do you want to voice yours?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Lori. Hi, honey.
Hi. With me, it's been the opposite problem. During my life, I went from 75 pounds to 130. But it's the same issue, I think. It's an emotional issue. One of the other things that I wanted to say was that many people can't afford the eye thing. I mean, even though they're thin, they need their health back. I mean, I have chronic fatigue and other illnesses now, but I still need my health back. But my insurance is not going to pay for all the other things. The thing that got me out of anorexia, which is a really horrible disease, is my closest friend was dying. And I thought, I'm trying to kill myself with anorexia, and she wants to live. How dare I do this to my body? And that was the moment that I started really taking care of myself.
Yeah, wow. One, I want to commend you and congratulate you on being aware of where you were taking your body, especially with it being a high energy in the, why am I saying mental realm, but the psychological aspects of it. And it really starts off with the mind and how you feel. That really the most powerful tool. And I was going to ask if you felt good, whether you were at 75 or 130, but I feel like you would know where your body feels right.
Well, I think it's, you know, it's like women, they always want to lose 10 pounds. You know, I'm a swimmer.
Mm.
And it wasn't done so much for exercise. I just love swimming.
Yeah.
But I think that helped.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to touch on too, a couple things is, the first at least is talking about the financial component of it. What I definitely made sure that I mentioned is that, especially with the herbal tinctures and herbal remedies, those are enhancements. You do not need them.
Well, I don't need them. I was speaking.
No, nobody really needs them. Nobody really needs them.
Oh, okay.
Thing is that I'm just saying it's an enhancement because, like, yes, I'm able to afford them, but I don't need them. Nobody does. What we need is to be able to strip ourselves away from these high processed foods, from grains, from the excess amount of proteins, of starches, peanuts, all that stuff, and to really get to foods. At least, I mean, I'm a raw vegan activist, so I'm going to always think about how can we nourish ourselves with food that it's in its most purest form, and let food be your medicine. And one thing I would suggest definitely is that, or let everyone know, is that fruits cleanse, vegetables build. So at least if anything, I'm like, oh, honey, you would go straight on just vegetable juices with me. Like I wouldn't even suggest fruit juice. I mean, I would, but for you, I would definitely suggest it as far as having a lot more vegetables, so that we can build your body, but also build your mind. And that's another thing. I feel like anorexia, like I said earlier, it's all from the mind, it's from thought. And being anorexic is not anyone's fault really, because there's so many social influences, especially for women, that we're like subconsciously taught to be anorexic. Like I'm actually dealing with people right now who think I'm anorexic, and I'm like, no, I'm fucking happy. I like where my body is, but again, that's also now tied with me being a Black woman, because they only see what Black women at a certain size. Like I had someone was just like, look at Lizzo, she's okay, and I'm like, I'm not. Like I've been that size for some time. I don't want that anymore. But I get as far as affordability. And definitely as far as talking about that, the easy way to have this lifestyle be affordable is to buy produce that is in season.
I do that, yeah.
Great. What's challenging is, and then too, if you have money to invest in a juicer, great. But see, you don't have to juice to get here.
I'm eating, well,
right. It's just if you're doing your job to have food that's in its purest state, you're going somewhere. Right. So if you wanted to have your occasional chicken, fish, because trust me, I love fishing, so I have to figure out what the fuck I'm gonna do. But I'm like, if you are having it at like bare minimums, right, while still nourishing yourself with medicine that's not produced, which is fruits and vegetables that are in season, so that it's affordable, because, and you can tell it's in season because they're cheaper than like with the other price stuff. Like America is so effed up. Like we have certain fruits that, like strawberries, like strawberries aren't good during the winter. Like let's get that right. So don't buy them, and plus they're going to be high priced. So like grapes is a perfect example. They'll be like $5 a pound at some days, and then they happen to be like $1.99. I'm like, they're in season. But you can heal yourself, especially with just vegetables, and making that as a part of your lifestyle, and getting rid of anything that is not serving you.
There's one more question.
Sure.
Somebody very overweight, would they have to talk to their doctor before they went on like a juice fast?
That is a beautiful question that I always have a challenge in answering because I think it's really based off somebody's belief system. Like I believe in Eastern medicines. I believe in holistic medicines. I believe in that route. Let me tell you this.
I mean, I won't. I'm asking for someone else.
No, yeah, no, I get it. But I think this would help because this is why I no longer have the belief in asking doctors for really anything.
Me too.
My grandmother passed away not too long ago with her having to take 4 pages of pharmaceutical drugs to live, but she died at a very early age. And she was obese. My uncle died from a stroke, high blood pressure. He was also taking pharmaceutical drugs. He died a year later in the same place as my grandmother. My cousin, who was had addictions, alcoholic. He was also in and out of the hospital. Well, he ended up killing himself, suicide. My other uncle, my my first uncle's brother, had diabetes. His leg, arm cut off because of diabetes, was taking pharmaceutical drugs. Also, they said that he needed to have a surgery done with only a 3% chance of living. He killed himself in his vehicle like the week or so later. I'm saying all of that to say, mind you, this happened where it was like a year after each other. Like they just dropped like fucking flies. I'm saying this because my grandmother took 4 pages of drugs that were supposed to help. I don't understand why she's gone. So I'm not sure how to really ask a physician for help when I saw all the help that she was getting. So it doesn't make sense to me. I get it. Oh yeah, of course. Like if my arm got chopped off, of course I'm gonna go to a fucking doctor, I'm gonna go to a surgeon and like patch me up. But if I'm like over here trying to figure out, help me with my blood pressure, help me with my depression, with my anxiety, help me with this knee issue. Like these drugs, Drug, which is, I think it's a German word, Drug, which is dried herb, but dried manufactured herb, in which they can put whatever contents, whatever the hell that they want in it, is only going to cover up, not even the problem. It's covering up the symptoms and not even getting to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is, what is our daily practice that our sad program refuses to put us on? Why? Because they want to make money. We are literally dollars to them. So I'm saying all that to say, your friend has to choose what is the best route for them. I have to say, disclaimer, I'm not a physician myself. I can't give any medical advice. I'm just really speaking off of experience from what I've done interpersonally and personally, and what I've seen in my family that is still happening. And I'm so blessed to finally have my family members come to me and say, what are you doing? Because I'm tired. And I'm like, it's all a meditative practice. And also too, if you just think and tell yourself that you love yourself, you think you're sexy, go up to the mirror, dance a little bit, appreciate what you have right now and know that it's gonna change, and have confidence in knowing that it's gonna change. And then be aware that whatever you're doing, I guess this is what I wanna say, is that you are an expert at being the Lori that you are right now. You're an expert. You know exactly what to do, exactly what to eat, exactly what to say to yourself and to other people. Let's work on you being the Lori that you deserve to be? And what does that look like? Write that down. Is she healed? Does she not have depression? Is she no longer anorexic? Is she 10 more pounds heavier? Is she this? Do then what's necessary to create the healthy practices to get to that Lori you deserve to be. And that's forever being a student. There's never a day when I'm not researching something. Like I tell Lindsay, I tell my baby, I'm like, hey, what did you just eat? Now I need you to research the bag that you ate, the company that it was made from, all the ingredients that you cannot pronounce because you do not have a chemistry degree. I need you to look all that up and just see what is it that you're doing. Look how you talk to people. Look how you talk to yourself. Look at what you wear. Like, think of yourself as already being healthy and put that into practice. And so that's another way of like being able to create and change habits. But I'm sorry, I went on another random thing, but yeah, please, just encourage your friend to make a choice that works for her and her highest self.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you for being one of the guests.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Thank you. Thanks for asking a wonderful, wonderful questions. Appreciate it.
Hey, Champagne. So I have a quick little thought.
I'm here.
One of the things that we spoke about that just was like so touching to me on our call last week, that I sort of hear sort of underneath some of the things that you're saying. And I just kind of wanted to bring it to the surface a bit, which is like this thing you said to me last week about, you sent me a book, right? And you had talked about this phrase, master your failure, and the notion of failure. And to me, like the notion of failure is it's so taboo to like fail. And I think that like, there's some interesting things around like privilege and failure and like who gets to fail and who does not get to fail and who has to be like, you know, who doesn't get that grace or something. But I wondered if you could just touch we've got like, I don't know, a bit left. I'm going to close up in just a bit. But if you could touch sort of briefly on sort of your philosophy around failure and how it's shifted.
Yeah, I was trying to find the quote that I shared with you, where it was creativity gives you room to make mistakes. Art are the mistakes that you choose. And that quote, at least for me, was just like, wow, I can create a safe space to like fuck up and just be okay as long as I like just keep going, right? I'm like, keep failing. There's actually even a tech conference in San Jose that's like tech fails, or I don't know, but look it up, Google it, find it. It's basically where you cannot talk about your successes whatsoever. You can only talk about your failures. And you start to see like all your failures actually amounted to like creating such a powerful person. Josh, you're flipping amazing. Oh, in the chat. Yeah, creativity gives you room to make mistakes. Art and mistakes you choose. So at least that, knowing, I grew up with such high anxiety and the willpower to like be perfect, especially when I started off as like the only child, and like, you know, that child that was like, I don't know, gonna make the family money and get the degree, and like the golden child, you know, all the Jessica's like, I relate. All the stuff that was like, here's your responsibility, now go out there and get everything and be great at it. And it didn't give me room to like to make mistakes. So I think that's where a lot of my anxiety just like came up, especially with kids. Like, people with A's get all the attention, you know, nobody celebrates the child that is like getting D's and C's even. So allowing myself to make mistakes was the most beautiful thing. And knowing that with art, especially, people parade mistakes. Like being an actor, let me tell you, I make mistakes all the time. The director is the person that ends up saying, I like that mistake, let's keep it. And I'm like, cool. So why not be able to do that with life? You know, it's like, especially getting out of the relationship. You stayed in the project, you made mistakes, but now you know how to, what's your next best mistake? And like, you know what, I'm gonna fail miserably at this, but it's gonna be a beautiful, miserable time because I'm now getting to be my true self. I'm not perfect. And it sucks when somebody asks you to be perfect, because there's beauty in making mistakes, but there's also beauty in actually learning from mistakes. So don't go into something saying, I'm going to intentionally fuck up. And maybe you should. I mean, maybe that worked. Oh no. Maybe be like, you know what? I'm going to give them all. I'm like, I'm going to fuck up. Just like with this, I was like, you know what, Amy, I'm probably going to fuck this whole shit up. But I'm happy though that I'm doing that, because I'm allowing myself to be comfortable in my skin and who I am, and just know that I am enough. I am enough. And being able to make mistakes proves that, because the more mistakes that I make, the more experience that I get, the more of an expert that I become. Because my juice cleanse, my one-woman show, my whatever, anything else, all my projects were mistakes. And some of those mistakes, I thought I just put in like 20%. I'm like, fuck it. Like this whole, especially one of my dinner shows, I was like, this ain't what it was supposed to be. But then to someone else, it was like, that was their 110%. They couldn't even do my 20% of what I thought was like, this isn't worth it. And it was like, so reassuring, but also like, fuck, then what does 25% look like? Okay, let's keep going. There was something else in the book too, and with this, but there was someone else who was an artist, who was a writer, and he made like thousands of copies of stuff all the time, and he was passing, and he told his friend, he said, friend, can you burn all my books, everything, when I'm gone, I don't, you know, just get rid of it. And the friend's like, okay, you know, yeah. So like 2 years later, he said, the fuck no, I ain't burning that shit. He published everything. What a friend, right? But to come to find out, this person who was passing, if he only knew about how beautiful his mistakes were, he would have had a book for 14 years. I think it was like a book every week for 14 years, even books that were not published, but not completed. And people fell in love with his work. And I can't remember who the writer was, but I was just like, wow, how much dough I would have been rolling in if I like knew, like my mistakes were being celebrated. And it just, I needed to learn how to celebrate them myself and be okay. And know that I was okay. So yeah, make mistakes. Go out there and make some beautiful mistakes and know that you're gonna be okay. And then sit there and just like talk to yourself like, did that mistake work for you? No, let's make another one. Did that one work for you? Cool, keep it. You just made a great piece of art, because you are art. You're an amazing, amazing drawings, letters, images on this lovely piece of canvas that we're on right now, especially while we're in this canvas, especially. Like you can look in each and every one of these boxes and be like, oh, fuck, I was a beautiful mistake. We didn't know how our chromosomes and shit were gonna come together. We didn't see that happening. And like, so go to your parents, hopefully they hear, your friends, and see like, I'm a beautiful mistake, so are you. Let's make mistakes together. And just see how much of a beautiful world and beautiful person that you are. And thank you for mistakenly being here. We didn't know that you were going to be here this long.
Thanks, Champagne. Thank you for
There
that.
you go.
Thank you, Champagne. You're a beautiful person.
Thank
you for being on.
Fingers,
I love you. I love you.
Love you.
I really thank you, Champagne. Yeah, there's Anna. Hooray. Awesome. I mean, I feel like, oh, my dogs are acting up. Sorry, everyone. There's whatever. They're having their fun. So on that note, on that really celebratory note of like, essentially the essential humanity of everyone, I want to wrap up, and as I do, usually what we do at the end here is I give a little creative prompt, and I'm just going to leave you with 3 questions.
Ooh, I like these.
Sort of, they're just kind of like questions for folks. Champagne, you've really spent the last hour and a half answering the questions, so I'm not sure. But basically,
More journaling for me.
More journaling for you. What is your relationship to nourishment and addiction? I guess I'll add, so I'm going to improvise a little bit, Joshua, so if you can try and capture it. I'm going to add something to it. So if nourishment and addiction had to have a dialogue, what would the dialogue be? And then a further question, which was like, what would you like it to be, that dialogue? So like, what is it now? And then what would you like it to be? And then lastly, sort of a prompt to think about for yourself, but also maybe to engage in a conversation with anyone else, some other person in your life who you feel like you can engage with in this way. What are the ways you practice self-love? Like, are there 3 that you know of already? Because I think I'm going to have to meditate on that. Like, what are my self-love practices? So those are my questions for you. And I want us all to just give the Champagne a big round of applause. Thank you so much for being our guest tonight.
Yeah.
So awesome. And really, what I want everyone to do who is able to, if your finances have not been severely impacted, we are giving you a link to Champagne's Venmo. Please help fund her work. Please help fund the various nonprofits and the One Woman Show, and just in general, her work on healing. It is so important that we continue to support these wisdom keepers. And Champagne, you're like offering us these really important pieces of wisdom that you have been working on yourself. And I want to honor that. And just like as an odd sort of sidebar, you know, this whole program of Moment to Moment is kind of like, we've been just flying by the seat of our pants doing this every week. What is this? I think it's our 11th week doing it. It's sort of like my version of juicing or something right now. It's like juicing the story, you know, everybody who comes on, squeeze them out for all the good juice, right? You know, one of the things to just note is like these guests, they're doing it pro bono. If we were to pay Champagne a consultant fee for these 2 hours, like a serious consultant fee, like what, you know, just if folks are able to pitch in for that, that would be awesome. So just think about that, you know, no pressure here, but just, I love to like send money to the folks that we are receiving from in this moment. So that's that. I also want to I need to plug Theater Bay Area website, where you will find information about free webinars. Champagne, you might want to do this. I don't know if you've done one of those.
Oh,
yet.
no, I haven't. And
okay.
Yeah, please tell me more. Oh, yeah, and then also too, I accept tips in you putting abundance out in the energy as well, for abundance for yourself and me. So please then also put out the energy of me getting this master's degree this year, and all of that. So whenever you think of me, just say it is done. So I understand we are at the times where we are not able to, you know, to give financially, but I I accept tips and energy. So please do as well.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No worries. Thank you, Champagne. Absolutely. So this Theater Bay Area website, you're going to find information about free webinars called The Changing Face of Theater, Creating During COVID. I think this would be really great for you to kind of reach out to them, Champagne. They're looking for folks.
Dope. Josh, send me the info. Okay.
They also have the Performing Artists Worker Relief Fund, which you can access as well. And I do want to announce next Thursday, we are having a final moment to moment because we're going to be pausing for July. So this is going to be a final moment to moment. And it's particularly exciting to me because, well, it's a lot of topics that I'm learning about right now. So the topic is police accountability and de-escalation. And our guests will be our beloved board member and Oakland native and longtime community activist, Kathy Leonard, as well as Ann Jenks, who is a member of the Coalition for a Police Accountability. We'll be hearing about a new pilot program called MACRO, which stands for Mobile Assistance Community Responders of Oakland. So this is going to be a really, really interesting to hear about what is happening with that, and also to understand more about de-escalation, which is such an important thing right now. And in general. I want to thank Team Tech, so Joshua and Sango, thank you so much on this tonight, and the gift that you bring us for supporting this. And then, you know, to Champagne, lots of energy.
Yeah.
Lots of love.
Juice on, my friends. Be fruitful.
Be fruitful. And Champagne, you are officially the first person who has talked about farting and being horny on this show, and I expect the trend to continue moving forward.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be on the wall of firsts to talk about bodily fluids and fruits that look like phalluses. Absolutely. Anytime, please.
Anytime. We'll be back for more. Thanks to all of you who have attended tonight, those of you who are coming in from Facebook, and those of you who are on the Zoom this evening. Your presence really matters, and thank you for joining our conversation. May each of you be well and healthy, and I will see you next week on our final moment to moment for this first pilot round. Take care.
Cheers on, friends.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, I'll see you later. We'll hug again sometime.